This is part of the series in which I interview designers working in the Finnish public sector on national or municipal level. 5 years ago, we created a network of designers working in the public sector, so we know each other from this network. We have a vibrant community of peer learning, and I'm super thankful about it. I see this series as an effort to document our work. Anni Leppänen is a lead designer in the City of Helsinki. With her, we have organized many activities as part of the network of designers. We presented and reflected on our work in a joint presentation we once did in Ireland as part of the international network of designers working for the public sector. Anni is an energetic and reflective designer, so I am always happy to plan new things together. She's always willing to contribute with her best. She's super generous with colleagues and likes to share what she knows. She has done hundreds of presentations and run hundreds of online workshops for the community of designers working in the public sector. As very often I am in my team's driving force, I love to collaborate with Anni because I just can accompany and follow her. I have learned a lot from her, so I am very happy that she accepts to be interviewed for this series. My name is Mariana Salgado, this is Diseño y Diáspora.
Introducing myself. So I'm Anni Leppänen. I'm a lead service designer working at the City of Helsinki. A bit of my background.
Yes.
So originally I studied social sciences. After high school, I went to the UK and studied international development and actually also Mandarin Chinese. So I was really interested in international development and kind of understanding how the world works and how the societal systems work. So it's kind of still related to what I'm doing these days, but very different. Then after those studies, I worked for NGOs and government, and then returned to Finland in around 2011.
But you started to work for the government already in UK, right?
Yes. I was working for some agencies back in London, but then when I returned to Finland, I was working as a science and innovation officer for the British government based in Helsinki. So kind of like coordinating the science and innovation relations between the two countries. And this was a really exciting job, returning after those many years abroad and kind of being able to have this combined role. So that was really exciting times.
And then you worked in the tax office at a certain moment, if I remember right.
Yeah, so I actually did my first design project while I was working for the British government. It was in 2012 when Helsinki was the World Design Capital. Do you remember that year? It was a big celebration and probably you were also doing something then, but we didn't know each other back then yet.
Yes.
But it was really influential moment to kind of, it was a project where I met lots of design pioneers and then got interested about the topic myself. And before landing my first job as a service designer in the tax administration, I actually did a long kind of journey before that. I went first to study graphic design and then realized that it's not exactly what I want. So then I found this master's program in Also called Creative Sustainability, and that was combining my earlier experience and degree in social sciences and societal issues and design. And then through those kind of courses, important courses at Aalto, I landed my first service designer job at the tax administration. And from then on, I've been working as a service designer inside the government.
What did you do in the tax administration?
It started with the website renewal project, which is always a good way to introduce design to the organization, I think, because you get to work with so many different parts of the organization. and communications units are usually very user-oriented from the get-go. So that was my first project. But then at the tax administration, I got to know so many interesting people and colleagues, and we kind of formed this club of innovators, and I got to experiment on a lot of things like participation and running trainings and this sort of thing. So really like growing as a service designer. But it was those years, it was back in 2015, 16 when design was really new to government. So it was just me and one other service designer who was working there, and it was kind of the early days for me, but also for the whole practice. So lots of like learning back then.
And then you entered to work in D9. Do you want to tell us quickly what was D9 or what is D9?
So D9 was this team, part of the government program that was set up in 2017. So it was just like a project that was temporary for a few years, but we know now that they have continued their work permanently after the project. But when I joined D9, it was just setting up, and it was a team of designers and technology experts, and we work with different government ministries and agencies to support user-centered digital transformation. So it was really about like initiating those like transformations. So working with leadership, working with key projects to kind of start using service design or start working with new technologies. So it was very different from what I'm doing these days at the City of Helsinki.
And this Inna Village is still up and running, right?
Yeah, it was actually, by then when I started working with them, it was like kind of like their maybe second or third iteration. So it is a very sort of a pioneering effort that was probably established in early 2000s already. So it's still running strongly. And now that we in Finland, we have these welfare regions, it's a really core network and service that supports the social and healthcare experts working in those areas and developing the services.
So in these D9 days, we met because it was your initiative to start this network of designers working in the public sector.
Yeah, true. That's when we met, and it has been a great partnership and friendship since then. And I was just thinking back to those days, and I remember that you were in a design team that was like starting fresh, and I was in a design team that has just started, and we wanted to kind of compare and learn from each other and share the experiences. So it was really important to know there was another team, and then we ran that design jam that kind of got more designers working inside government, these kind of lone wolves that got together, and then we set up the Finnish government design community. So this kind of community of practice was it like around autumn in 2017. So
yeah, 5 years ago.
Yes.
Now we are around 450, I heard lately. And it's super nice that we are still having weekly meeting. I could say that this is a tight rhythm for a network. Normally, networks, they don't meet once a week.
True. And it was, I think, why we ended up in this model that we're hosting these online calls every week is that when we started out with the community, it was just that I promised that I will be online every Thursday morning. I don't have an agenda. I don't have a presentation. I can tell and share what I've been doing, and I want to know what you guys are doing. So it kind of started out by openly sharing what you are doing. And then quite quickly, it became more structured. We have amazing presentations and case studies, and kind of the calls are a way to understand what is happening in the Finnish design community inside the government. So it started out from this very sort of low-key grassroots sharing openly kind of activity.
Well, yeah, it's a peer learning platform, definitely for us. And it's something that, in my opinion, is like you could say that is our own way of keeping updated what is going on in the design, right? Because every week we get one person or a group. Today in the morning, for example, it was a super interesting discussion about how different groups have been running different type of service design trainings in their own organizations.
Yeah, true. It's been like a source of learning for all of us, because when we started, we didn't really know how to do design in government. Nobody knew. It was so new. So it's both about learning from each other, but also kind of building understanding of how the design maturity is advancing inside the government. So understanding like what is even possible and what should we be doing. So it's really kind of helping us all to go forward and have more impact in our design.
Yeah, and something that you say that we were this lonely wolf in our own organizations, I think that it's definitely very true, at least for many of us, that we are not a big team, no, which is very different as you have now in the city of Helsinki.
Yeah, true. That has been perhaps one of the biggest changes since we started. These lonely wolves started, the first designers in government started, that nowadays it's more common that there are several designers working inside one organization. So it's surprisingly kind of growing to that direction. So it's quite a nice development, because working as a lone designer can also be tough because you're trying to create a very big step in the change.
Definitely. So tell us about your team. What are you doing in Helsinki city?
Yeah, so I have been working for the City of Helsinki now around 4 years. My job has changed quite a bit during these 4 years. I initially joined the City of Helsinki as a service designer in this thing called Helsinki Lab, which was also a project that became a permanent function. So it was this kind of function or network that was helping city employees to use design and buy design and training also. But then quite soon after that, I switched jobs. Kind of, I was still working in the same Helsinki Lab network, but I got the responsibility of digital customer experience. So working as a lead service designer responsible for digital customer experience. To be honest, I was not quite sure what that meant. That
I was
time
going to
got
ask
the
you
job.
exactly that you were already working with the website of the city, right?
No, that became later. So I did have experience specifically with digital transformation. So this jump was very sort of natural for me, even though my sort of training is not digitally specific. I'm a strategic designer that has experience working in digital transformation. But this digital customer experience, it was this kind of movement or term that had kind of sprung up before I joined City of Helsinki. So my first job was to kind of create a shared understanding of what that means at the City of Helsinki. So there was a research done by one of the design agencies about what is the maturity and what is the understanding of digital customer experience in the City of Helsinki, which, by the way, is the biggest employee organization in Finland, so 40,000 colleagues. So you can imagine, like, understanding this concept is very complex.
So, but the idea is like how these employees of the city work with the different digital services.
Yeah, basically, you're right. But I feel like this digital customer experience has become this umbrella concept that our team can use to work in a very sort of wide spectrum of things. So we now kind of understand that like what are the different parts that digital customer experience is about. How to say? Let me think about how to explain it. Yeah, so I think we benchmarked a lot about what the government digital service was doing in the UK and understanding how to develop end-to-end services and how to really create those user-centered services. So we're kind of using the digital customer experience term or concept as a kind of overarching term to describe the remit that we are working in. So it's about kind of using service design and different other types of design in developing digital services.
So digital service, exactly what? Give me one example.
I think that's a really good question. Simple, but actually it's more complex than that. It's one of the challenges that I've been tackling since my career in the government is that often inside the government, websites and e-services are seen as different things. But from the customer point of view, they see the different kinds of digital services, whether they're websites or e-services, they are part of the same digital customer experience. And this is really important for our team's work, that we are trying to kind of lobby this new way of thinking, that the digital customer experience is formed kind of in 4 parts. We have this concept that has 4 parts, and the first part is kind of findability. I don't know if it translates that well, but finding information, finding services. The second one is accessing the services or using the services. And then the third part is waiting or processing. So all the things that happen kind of while you're waiting to get things done. And then the fourth part is being a customer, or kind of continuing as the resident or citizen, and what services do you have then. So I think these kind of like general concepts are helping us to understand where we need to be working. And not just digital, we need to understand the multi-channel experience. So not just working on one channel, but understanding how customers move through different channels and different services.
And the services could be like the services for the child care in the city, the museums, libraries. It could be all the services around this, right?
Yeah, so the city is divided into the central administration and then 4 divisions. And the divisions are where most of the sort of services exist. So we have the education division that has the childcare or daycare and also the schools. And then we have the social and healthcare division that obviously has the social and healthcare services. And then we have culture and leisure division with libraries and museums and sports and all those exciting things. And then we have the urban environment, which is responsible for the physical surroundings and of the city and how it functions. In the central administration, we also nowadays have employment or unemployment services. So this is also a big change, that there is this experiment going on in transferring the employment services from state government to municipalities. So lots of important services are actually implemented and delivered at the city level.
This interview is part of the list D&D in English, Gobierno y Diseño, y Finlandia y Diseño. Designers in the government first worked alone in teams with people from other disciplines. As Anni puts it, we were lonely wolves in the need of peer support. Little by little, teams of designers are consolidating in public organizations. And as Tanya said in the previous interview, the network of designers within an organization support the growth of design maturity. We work in transdisciplinary groups, and we also need networks of peer support with other designers. We benefit from both. There are also a set of concepts that open the path for design in the public administration. Concepts such as experiments, agile process, customer experience, live events, and public imagination are familiar in the public sector in Finland. When these ones are mentioned, we know that the designer can contribute. We feel the call, as many of us have worked in relation to developing agile processes, experiments, or live events. Now, let's continue listening to Anni, as she has a lot more to tell. So, and what is your team doing at the moment? Tell me I would like to know one concrete example of what you are working now. I know that you have a lot of super engaging projects.
So actually, I got to set up the team around 2 years ago. So before that, I was kind of mostly working as a kind of one service designer with multidisciplinary colleagues. So 2 years ago, I got my first designer colleagues recruited, and that was also quite exciting to define those roles and do the recruitment and setting up the team, and that also became our flagship project. The website renewal sounds simple, but it was actually it is one of the biggest digital projects that we've had in the city of Helsinki, and we are doing lots of digital stuff at the city. So that started around 3 years ago, and then we got the team together 2 years ago, and we have been working with the website project since then. But now we're actually transitioning this year to also new projects. So it's an important step from being one project-based team to kind of working holistically and taking new projects and these sort of things. So
perfect. So can we go to one concrete example? Because I know you are working in one interesting project, at least, probably more.
So the website project, it started out as a kind of technology-led, platform-led project, and then I had the opportunity to set up a really wide design operation inside the program. So we ended up running 25 service design projects inside the program in this 3 years. And then we also designed a new visual concept and UX solutions for the website. So basically, we use the website program to kind of do this huge design transformation. So in these 25 service design projects, we were working in each 4 months with one of the divisions, with their communications team, with their service owners, with their technology experts, and kind of deep diving into themes like living, things like education, or what would be another example?
Social healthcare.
Yeah, but in social and healthcare, we took these kind of themes, for example, senior citizens or families with children. So we would take these huge themes and run a 4-month service design project where we did quite a comprehensive user research phase. And then we started the concept development that led to kind of an implementation phase to set up a thematic website, for example, for senior citizens or families with children. So that kind of formed the basis of the website. So it's not just one website, but it's actually 20 to 30 thematic websites that are kind of gathering the information and services around those big customer groups or big teams. And we really used service design to create those themes and understanding how the daily life in the city is actually happening and what do the people need, what are their struggles and motivations and values.
Did I understand it fine that you work with this concept of moments in life, and then you went across the different services that they might be divided in the city by different divisions, but for us they are not divided in different divisions, right? Like I am the same person that needs healthcare, and I need other type of services also.
Yeah, that was these life events. It's one of the kind of ways finding those themes that those kind of cross-cutting themes that we were focusing our work. So we didn't want to just work with kind of organizationally created topics, but we tried to identify these bigger themes through life events, or maybe customer groups, or we had these themes that are around daily life in the sort of physical environment of the city. And then we had a fourth sort of cluster of themes that was more about how the city is working as a platform in supporting, being a partner to other actors within the city. So we found out lots of different sort of cross-cutting themes that we worked with.
Something I wanted to ask you is that you have a big team, but also you have a big organization. So you need to do a lot of prioritization of your work, right? How do you prioritize what to do? I guess you get a lot of calls, and then people want your team to come and work with me because I am the one that is more needed of help. And so how do you decide in which of the topics are you going to focus?
So we do run this sort of advice service within the central office. So kind of giving advice to employees of City of Helsinki around using design and buying design. And it was part of the city operation before I joined the City of Helsinki. So it has been kind of a side job for my team all the time, but we have been focused on this one huge program. So that helped us to prioritize, because we have this very precise way of working in the program in these 4-month cycles, and there was a board of the program that then decided which themes we are taking for each cycle. So kind of working in that huge program itself helped us to formulate the process and prioritize our work. But now it's becoming more complex, because we don't want to just work in this one program or one website. We want to be kind of spreading our work to really leading and managing the digital customer experience. So working also with the other digital services. So then the prioritization is already getting a lot more complex again. A few years ago, we set up this thing that in Finnish it's called something like development support. So instead of just giving advice on design, we're actually working as a multidisciplinary team that is giving advice to anybody who wants to develop the services or develop digital services. So design consultancy or design advice is given as part of this multidisciplinary advice service that we are running. So that helps us with prioritization, because that service has a very strict process and tools, and we are managing the workload through a planner. So it's quite professional how we're actually doing it. But as you said, the needs are still bigger than the resources or the time and people we have. So we need to be constantly kind of thinking, where do we want to be? And one of the ways I'm sure you are also using is looking at the strategy that you have. So we have this city strategy that is actually made by politicians. So it's an important way to kind of prioritize what we want to be doing in this 4 years. And also we have a separate digital transformation program. So we have very clear priorities. What are the most important projects that we should be focusing on? But of course, we also want to be helping those sort of innovative new ideas that are coming up and are not necessarily kind of yet those priorities. So we're trying to balance between those kinds of choices.
And do you feel like you have enough of opportunities to experiment also, to do certain, things that might fail?
Good question. As a city, we are actually quite good at experimenting. One of my closest colleagues is running this experimentation accelerator. So experimentation is a really systematic part of how we do development in City of Helsinki, but experimentation within design, that's another question. I think we have been given, me and my team, a very sort of wide mandate, and also lots of resources to do the things the way we want to do them. So in that sense, I think there's lots of flexibility to experiment, but what is kind of hindering maybe the experimentation is there's a pressure to deliver results. So I guess many of us saw that during COVID, the economics started to look more strict, and we needed to kind of focus on savings and kind of efficiency and this sort of priorities. So it has been also important that we are doing work that is either scalable, like the design system work, or the playbook where we share our tools and methods and processes, or kind of showing core results in delivering those services. So before, when I was working for D9 or these other design projects, it was often about initiating and kind of doing that first push of user research and concept development. But at the City of Helsinki, it's the design work. It's important that we are also actually delivering those services to people in Helsinki. So that is a struggle for designers to kind of take those user needs and take those ideas all the way through launching the service and then continuous development. And that has been one of the biggest learnings for me in the 4 years, like how to, as a service designer, I had very little real understanding of UX UI design. So kind of learning those design areas that are focused on great implementation. So that has been really important to City of Helsinki. And I think my team and the website program has really been like a successful example. I think it was kind of like a surprise to everyone, because we might know that many of the digital projects can fail and there can be some difficulties, but actually we can really say that this has been a successful and massive digital project, that the service that we now have online, it is actually pretty good. So, so of course we need to measure and continue develop it. Our previous mayor said that when he heard about this program, he said that good luck, it's never going to be finished. So you can never kind of finish a digital service, because people's expectations, your surroundings, the world, it keeps changing. So you need to start again when you think you're finished. So in that sense, but I'm pretty like surprised and proud that this went really well. It hasn't been without hiccups. We've had to really kind of learn our ways, but it's really nice to stand here or sit here discussing with you and say that actually we can be proud of the work that we did in the end.
And how do you see the future? What do you think that you would like to do that you couldn't till now do? Are there new openings or in your mind? Or
yeah, that's a good one. It takes us to this new project idea that we have been developing around proactive services. We started working on this in January. So basically bringing together service designers and data people or technology experts working specifically on sort of AI and data APIs and those things. So together we are trying to first of all learn how data experts and design experts can work together. That is the first step. And the idea is to try to find ways to, how to say,
to give services before, because I can imagine proactive services is that you are going to offer me something even before I wish it.
Yeah, so proactive services about using, for example, data to understand the needs of our users or customers, and then offering the services at the right time to right people. So it can be about offering personalized services, or it can be about offering services or reminding you that, hey, you haven't been to the dentist for a while. Would you like to come and get it done, or something like that? So basically, we're trying to find out, is there a new way to deliver services? Maybe the old and traditional way of the government functioning is that the services are quite reactive. So the law is saying which are the services that we need to be running, or there are some needs in the society, and then we try to deliver the services in support of those. But proactive services is about trying to find out what is the impact that we want to create, what are the needs, and how should we organize our services and functions to really kind of offer the services in the right time and right way, and how we can use data and new technologies to do this. I think we have lots of opportunities with them, and the city digital transformation is quite ambitious. We have this data transformation program that is launching my data services and such things. So I think it's quite exciting to bring the design team to work in this area and try to find those great combinations of design and data. But we're still in very early days, so hopefully in a year's time, maybe I can come and share some results of this new work we're doing.
Perfect. So tell me, what is inspiring you? What are you reading, listening, watching that you would like to recommend to others?
Something I recently read was actually academic article, or there were 2 academic articles that were published about design maturity in the city of Helsinki. So when I joined the city of Helsinki, the researchers and professors from Aalto University were actually studying the design maturity and the 10-year journey of service design in the city. And they have now, finally, after a few years, they have actually published academic articles around those results that they then discovered and what we discovered together. And that has been quite interesting.
We can link them, but what have you learned from them? Because I guess that as you were working and it took a time till the publication, there was not a lot of surprises for you.
Yeah, but I think those ideas are still very relevant, like the challenges that they presented. So the first article was more about like identifying the challenges that we face in deepening the impact of design. And then the second article is about presenting the design activities map, which kind of explains what design is in the city of Helsinki, because that is a difficult question. Many bosses and leaders and managers are asking us, what does design mean? And explaining what design means is one of the hardest things for a designer. But it's important to explain and evangelize design. But I feel like the design journey of Helsinki has been, the history of design in the city of Helsinki has been long, so like over 10 years, but these past 4 years since the data was collected for these articles, what has been the biggest change in my mind is that we set up a bigger in-house design team. So the model of working with design at the city has been really focused on using design agencies. So private companies, design consultants are really important part of the design ecosystem of Helsinki, and most of the design work is done together with these amazing design agencies. But in the last 4 years, we have also seen more in-house designers. And for example, the fact that I'm leading a team of 10 in-house designers plus consultants is an indication that there is a role for in-house designers in order to deepen the impact of the design work. So I think that is something that really has kind of changed the work at the City of Helsinki.
Perfect. Maybe because you talk, the last question could be that, do you think as a leader you are different because of being a designer?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, taking up this sort of team leader position has been really exciting, and also something that I really wanted, because remember, Mariana, we were running this design and government event in 2018, which was actually in the city hall. I was not still then working for the city, but I was running this small group discussion about design leadership. And at that time we were all kind of saying like, we want those design leaders, and where is the big design boss that's going to come and save us? And then I think I just kind of realized that any one of us can grow into becoming a manager or a leader. I guess there's a difference between a leader and a manager. I think all of us in some ways need to be leaders because we are trying to create a transformation through design. But being a manager, that's a whole different thing. It's about learning to coach people. It's about those steps in recruitment and defining designer roles and helping with career development. And that has been super exciting. So I have been able to use my designer skills in understanding what sort of design operations we need to set up. But what I have had to learn is the skills to manage and coach and help people, so the designers in my team. And that is something that has been new to me, but also a very rewarding journey to learning how to help designers to do their job and how to kind of enable their work. So it's not about me telling them how to do their job, but trying to create those conditions where they can do their job and really get impact. So a lot of my work is actually, these days, it's not so much about me designing myself, but working with other leaders and managers and trying to work out where we should be kind of using design and what are the important goals and objectives that we need to set in order to get kind of the impact for the design results. So
great. Thank you a lot for this interview.
Thanks for having me, Mariana.
As I said in the beginning, I always learned from Anni. I love this idea that the services could be proactive. So I tried to imagine how a design podcast, that in my opinion is a service, could be proactive. And I asked ChatGPT for help. It gave ideas. Most of them are well known for me. But one was new. It suggested that we should start design challenges, that we should initiate collaborative projects or design challenges that listeners can participate in. This could involve solving real-world social problems, generating design ideas, or creating prototypes. Providing a platform for listeners to contribute actively to social design initiatives not only engages them, but also fosters a sense of purpose and collective action. I will take note of this. Maybe one day I will do it. The rest of the suggestions are the things that we currently do. For example, the first and most important is focusing on topics, formats, and engagement strategies that actively involve and empower the audience. For that, we do surveys, polls, or interviews to understand the specific interests, concerns, and needs of the podcast's target audience. For example, now we have 2 Mexican trainees doing interviews to design professors and students. The aim is to understand how they use podcasts as part of the teaching. I hope this research will help shape the podcast content, ensuring it addresses the most relevant topics. The chat suggested also inviting professional practitioners and experts in the field of design as guests on the podcast, conduct in-depth interviews, and delved into their work, methodologies, and lessons learned. This exposes listeners to diverse perspectives and provides valuable insights and inspiration for their own design endeavors. This is exactly what I tried to do. Hope you enjoyed this interview with Anni and got some inspiration for your work. As always, the music of this podcast is by Antonio Zimmerman. Sound design is by Andy Fecci. This podcast is published with Creative Commons license with attributions. This was Diseño y Diáspora. You can follow us on our social media channels in YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter, or visit our website. Remember to recommend us and recommend our books. Stay tuned for more. We've got lots in store. Till next time, goodbye and design some more.